Vice Mayor Smith?
Here.
Mayor Paris?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's have a prayer with Sherry Marcus. Will do the prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for your many blessings upon this city and this Antelope Valley. Lord, we pray that you would meet with us this morning. We need your guidance and your direction in everything that we do and everything that we say. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Vice Mayor Smith, do you want to do the pledge of allegiance?
We're ready to face the flag of our nation. Right hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Supervisor Antonovich. This is an annual event he doesn't need to do, and he brings all the department heads that we need to talk to, and they put a lot of effort into this.
Thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you for coming. Okay. All speaker cards must be filled out and submitted prior to the agenda item being called. This same rule applies if you wish to speak on non-agendized items at the end of the meeting. Following this process will allow us to conduct a timely and orderly meeting. We aren't taking any action on any items, so the necessity of having speaker cards after each item is obviated. So the only speaker cards we'll have during the meeting will be on new business item 2, and after all the new business items have completed, then all of the speaker cards will be called and you'll have your opportunity to comment. And we're doing that in an effort to have a reasonable time limit on the meeting. Okay, new business item 1. The Adult Protective Services in Antelope Valley, is there a presentation for that?
Good morning. My name is Dave Cochin. I'm a Human Services Administrator with Los Angeles County Adult Protective Services. I've basically been asked to give a report on the progress of a pilot project that we have going with the City of Lancaster. This is based on a meeting that was held in February of last year, where it was determined that we wanted to actually have a collaboration in which we have one of our social workers, one of our after-hours social workers, stationed at the Lancaster Sheriff's Department and respond to any reports of elder abuse or dependent adult abuse. And so we actually got this project underway in June of last year. And so the project basically involves the occasional placement of an APS after-hours social worker at the Lancaster Sheriff's Station. And so we have had one individual stationed there. Her name is Esther Sacco. And since that time, in the last year, she has responded to a total of 19 reports of elder abuse or dependent adult abuse. And she has rolled out on each and every one of those. And it has gone very successfully. And in the last few months, she has not needed to report as frequently because there haven't been as many calls. In the last 5 months, she's only been required to conduct about 5 rollouts from Lancaster. But basically, that's the latest update on that on this project. And also, she wanted to, let it be known that she has really enjoyed working with the Sheriff's Department on this project.
How does that compare to other cities in the county, if you know? The number of reports we have?
It's actually quite small. Basically, the need for this came out of there was a necessity to have somebody stationed there simply because the location itself is pretty remote from the rest of the county. And so this was really done as a way to address the fact that the number of seniors has been increasing, and the number of reports of abuse against seniors and dependent adults has been increasing in recent years.
Thank you. You know, I also learned this morning that we're going to use the neighborhood impact homes for family visitation on children that have been removed before their reunification, which I think is an incredible partnership between the city and the county. That is because we're right in the neighborhood now, and so we don't have the transportation difficulties of mothers not being able to see their children. I really appreciate that level of partnering with the city. I think that as long as we maintain that attitude, there's really nothing we can't accomplish, and I want to tell you how appreciative we are of that.
Thank you. We are very pleased and honored to be a part of this collaboration. So thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to new business item 2. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do that. All right. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Paul Gaeta, the regional administrator.
You guys were the guys who told me about the neighborhood. I hope I didn't
We'd
steal
like to
your
talk
thunder.
about that. It's been a great partnership this year with the city, and we're using the Paiute House for purposeful visitation for our families. The number one indicator of quick reunification is the quality and the number of monitored visits that we have. So, as you said, it's in the neighborhood, it's convenient, and we have trained monitors from our, from Grace and from the faith-based community who actually do these monitored visits, and it's been fabulous.
And we were also talking about some new, innovative, I guess, experiment wouldn't be the word, but certainly never been done anywhere else, ideas that we're in the process of working with you on. And I mean, that is really exciting stuff, that when we can all come together and explore this. And hopefully we can make a bigger dent in this problem. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate that collaboration.
We do also, of course. This is my assistant regional administrator, Preston Oppenheimer, Dr. Preston Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. And he has been instrumental in these visitation centers and some other collaborations that we have with the city. He's done a fabulous job. And also we'd like to thank the city of Lancaster for assisting us, and Mayor Antonovich and Norm Hickling and Helen Barbarian for assisting us with the opening of our new annex. We have a new office on the east side on K6. It's a very nice facility. We have 65 staff there. Again, it's centrally located, so we have one now on the west side and one on the east side to make it convenient for our clients.
Terrific. Thank you. Let's make certain we get that meeting scheduled in the next 30 days. I want to...
Absolutely. We're very excited about
Great.
that concept.
Okay, we will be in touch with you. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Any questions before that? Okay, good. Okay, new business item 2, right? The speaker cards for new business item 2, we will do those at the end of the presentation. As to the other items, we will do at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Thank you. The new business 2.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment prior to this item being discussed?
Yes, you're going to have to talk louder. I left my hearing aids at home.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, very good. As you're aware, Mr. Mayor, the city is currently engaged in litigation concerning certain aspects of the county's administration of the Section 8 program. For that reason, while I don't have any concern with the city taking a report from the county concerning the administration of the Section 8 program, my strong recommendation would be that the council not discuss or make any public comments concerning the issue. To the extent the council does elect to make public comments, I would just ask the council members bear in mind that the city is currently defending itself in litigation concerning this issue.
You know, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with, some ultra-liberal lawyers filing a lawsuit and then shutting up public debate and public comment and the discussion about something that is as pressing a need as this particular item or any other. You and I both know that litigation is going to take 3, 4, and if it goes up to the Court of Appeals, it could be 8 years. And so I'm supposed to shut up for 8 years? I don't think anybody's successfully shut me up for 10 minutes. That's just not going to happen. We're going to have to roll with it. We will deal with it. But we are not shutting down democracy because of a few people filing a lawsuit, especially one as spurious as this one. The lawyers are just going to have to deal with it and do the best job they can. But to say we can't share our views with the public because there's a lawsuit, that is not the country I was raised in. And it's certainly not the country any of us were raised in, okay? And I know I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at these people that filed the lawsuit. It's beyond me, the basis of that. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I don't know if you have county council advising you, but that is the feeling and opinion of the city of Lancaster. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Good morning, Honorable Mayor Paris, Honorable Mayor Antonovich, Lancaster City Council members. My name is Sean Rogan. I'm the Executive Director for the Community Development Commission for the County of Los Angeles, as well as the Executive Director for the Los Angeles County Housing Authority. I do, in fact, have County Council here, though I will certainly be available after I provide my update to answer those questions that are appropriate. Also with me is my Assistant Executive Director, Emilio Salas, who certainly will be a wealth of information in terms of any potential data requests. With that being said, by way of overview, I want to give a brief background and a brief reminder as to where the Housing Authority was 2 years ago and where the Housing Authority is today. 2 years ago, the Housing Authority had a troubled status from HUD based on operational deficiencies. Since that time, there's been concentrated efforts to improve those deficiencies, and in particular, those areas surrounding lease-up, timely re-examinations, and timely HQS, or Housing Quality Standard inspections. I'm happy to report that in those 2 years, we've actually moved the troubled status of the Housing Authority, addressed those particular issues, and are now on the cusp of becoming what's known as a high performer. What that means specifically as it relates to some of these operational deficiencies is that 100% of our housing quality standard inspections are done on time, our re-exam packages are being done on time, and the other requirements as related to the CMAP operational scorecard, if you will, are be completed on time and at the appropriate levels. Secondly, as it relates to the Housing Authority, we continue to look to provide a range of services. I'm happy to report that one of the areas I know that's near and dear to this council as well as to the county is certainly looking for programs to help assist people move from the Section 8 program to self-sufficiency. We recently received an award from HUD to fund 8 total positions for family self-sufficiency, which we'll be utilizing to certainly engage the Section 8 participants in terms of trying to move them towards that goal. Additionally, as it related to areas of concerns by this council was to fully staff a local office, which we've done in Palmdale, where you have managers, supervisors, case managers, and our housing quality standards inspectors, so that the Palmdale office is in fact operating fully staffed and as a one-stop shop, so to speak, to meet those needs and inquiries that will come into the Palmdale office. Additionally, some areas of good news as it relates to certainly technology advances. We are one of the few housing authorities now nationwide to actually have developed and have begun to implement owner and tenant portals, which in essence are going to allow a substantial amount of work by Section 8 landlords as well as Section 8 tenants in terms of conducting day-to-day operations over the internet. We expect substantial participation and efficiencies, especially on the re-exam side when those packages can actually be sent electronically. Nonetheless, at this point in time, forms can be downloaded, can be filled out, and then mailed in, but we are trying to move towards a more E-type filing system. So with that, that's my update, and I stand before you for any questions.
I think we have a few. Who wants to go first?
I'll start. Before we get started, I just want to tell our supervisor and thank him for what he's done in the position that he's taken on this subject of Section 8 and how he has backed the Antelope Valley. And anything I'm about to say doesn't reflect on him. You're certainly not going to win any awards here. But let me ask a couple questions. How many complaints a year do you get for the entire county?
Are you talking fraud and compliance complaints?
Yes.
Last year we got
Year-to-date, 379. We average between 500 and 600 over the last several years.
Is that countywide?
That's correct.
How many households do you have on Section 8? Countywide.
We have over 20,150.
How many in Lancaster?
As of June 1st, 2,094 or 96? 2,094.
In Palmdale?
Palmdale,
1,336.
How many inspectors does the county pay for?
It pays for 3 countywide, and then prior to yesterday's action, half of 3 additional in Lancaster and Palmdale.
So how many does the city pay for and exclude those that you fired in Lancaster?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
How many does this city pay for?
Are we talking post or pre-board action?
Exclude the inspectors that you fired in Lancaster. Exclude those 3. How many of those additional 3, you have 6 total in the county prior to yesterday, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, you fired 3 of them.
3 were laid off, that's correct.
Okay, so how many of those inspectors does this city pay for, of those remaining 3?
None.
What? None. So there's no way for the Section 8 or the Housing Authority to pay for those inspectors that protect us from the fraud?
Again, I'm not understanding the question.
In the Section 8 system, who pays for those 3 inspectors?
Did those come out of county administrative funds? County Housing Authority administrative funds?
And is that adequate staffing, in your opinion?
It depends on the level of enforcement that the board directs the housing authority to do. It's always a matter of resources as it relates to how those are applied.
So you're telling me that we have adequate staffing to identify the fraud and corruption and abuse with three inspectors in the entire county?
That wasn't my statement. You asked me a question, and
Okay,
I responded.
are you telling me that? We have three inspectors,
That's correct. We have 3 inspectors.
so that's enough.
I don't know if that is or is not enough. That is what we have based on the resources we have.
Okay, how much money do you receive per voucher to administrate the Section 8 program?
It's about $100 per voucher.
I think it's a little less with the
For the first 2,000, and yeah, it's like $75.
You know, there was a 20% administrative cut, and it's somewhere between $75 and $80 a voucher right now on average.
Can those funds be used for inspectors?
Could they be? Yes.
Are they?
For 3, yes.
Out of the $75 and $80 that you get, out of that amount, how much is spent on investigators for the Antelope Valley?
At this point in time, 0. Notwithstanding how we'll use the 3 investigators in terms of responding to complaints that will not result in enhanced enforcement.
How often is the agency required to inspect a housing unit?
Annually. And I'm assuming you're referring to housing quality standard inspections.
And how often do you do proactive compliance checks?
We have always operated on a complaint basis. So it's always been complaint driven.
On your appraisal for rental, how you do the fair market value for the, is it done based upon the Los Angeles rents or the Antelope Valley rents or the county in a whole?
Well, let me try to answer that. First, HUD provides the fair market rents, which is then utilized as it relates to issuing the voucher based on the family size and income. And then from there, we apply a payment standard, which is currently as low as the regulations allow, which is 90% of that fair market rent. And then those voucher holders, as they decide where they want to live and look to use those vouchers, we then look at the contracted rents and are required to then get 3 comps to ensure that that contracted rent is in fact a fair market rent.
Okay. I'm good with him for now. Ron?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rogan. On what Mr. Chris was saying before, under the HUD regulation, you can go down to 90% of a difference between the fair market value rating of the Los Angeles area and what the rents are here. Is that correct?
Our payment standard is 90% of the fair market rent. We, in essence, based on that, will provide the lesser of the 90% fair market rent or the comparable rent for the unit.
Right. Now there is something in that law that says that if there is a difference, and I believe off the top of my head, I think it's 5% difference on fair market rate of one area to another, that you can actually section off that other area. So the Antelope Valley is the numbers are, I think our rents are even 76 or even lower difference between LA. And that's the same reason that Orange County, Long Beach split from LA County years ago. And that is the federal regulation. Now, I've been asking this for every time that one of your department heads come here, why have we not separated out and have a fair market value for this area? And it's never been done. So I mean, last time, in fact, the gentleman, I don't think he works for you anymore, he was up here and he didn't even know it. He didn't even understand that part of it. He didn't know that this could be done. So why haven't we done it? Because there needs to be a balance.
I'd be happy to respond to that
Thanks.
question.
And what's your name, sir? I'm sorry.
My name is Emilio Salas. I'm the Deputy Executive Director. And let me just elaborate on how these fair market rents work, because I'm very familiar with that process, actually. We currently pay, as Sean was saying, the actual contract rents that we pay here in Lancaster have to be comparable to what the other rents are in the area. We don't have to go up to the fair market rent that's established for the Los Angeles metropolitan area.
That's correct.
So we pay the lesser of the two. Currently, our contract rents, and we have a report to show you if you'd like to look at it, we pay what the comparable rents are here in Lancaster, which are averaging, to your point, 30% less than what the fair market rents are in the metropolitan area. That's in fact what
One
is
question
being
for
paid
you.
here.
The last time somebody came here, they said you can go down, but you can't go below the 90% threshold. So you're saying that
That
you're
was not
actually-
me.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm trying to get clear. So you actually do go below that 90% and you go down to...
That is correct. We go down to whatever the
7%.
comparables are in the specific area that
Okay.
we're renting units.
Okay, thank you. The other question is, how many people, and you might not know this or not, how many people have applied for Section 8 and are currently on the waiting list? I mean, I've heard stories that there's senior citizens or other single moms that have been on the list for 4 years, 5 years. Somebody one time told me they were on the list for 10 years. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
I can tell you that the current wait list has over 170,000 people on it. And when you look at the amount of turnover that is currently occurring, it probably is 10 years.
Thank you, that's all. That's all questions. I'll have comments at the
Can I follow up? Is there a financial incentive for a recipient to relocate to Lancaster based upon that?
Is there a financial incentive?
Can you get better housing here?
I would say yes. You can you get more value for your dollar. Yes.
So you've created a system that incentivizes Section 8 people to move to the Antelope Valley.
No, we have, based on federal regulation, a system that allows for housing choice for the tenants to choose where they live, and under that, given the affordability of some of the homes here in Lancaster, have chosen to come here.
Mr. Rogan, you just mentioned that Hokolo received an award, whereas you can, I guess, hire 8 new positions.
We received a grant to fund 8 family self-sufficiency coordinator positions. It's specific to trying to assist Section 8 tenants in achieving self-sufficiency.
Well, I just wondered, since it's obvious that we have 3 county-wide inspectors / investigators, I guess, that maybe those 8 positions would be better served as investigators / inspectors. I wondered if you could take that grant money and apply that to more investigators. 3 investigators for the whole county of Los Angeles seems lacking,
The grant money is specific to family self-sufficiency.
which usually is specific, yes. The other thing I'd like to just mention is that, Mr. Salas, is that would you be able to prepare a PowerPoint for the next LMVC meeting regarding the fair market rental rates that you're working with? And I understand that Commissioner Harris is also compiling information for you for that report.
What I had reported previously is that we do have some interns that are working in the local area to actually conduct a rent survey, to then compare that survey to the rent comparables that we're currently obtaining through our Rent-elect system to ensure that it is in line. And Commissioner Harris volunteered to participate as part of that study, and we have been in contact with him regarding that.
Okay. Would you be ready to do a presentation that the next
I could certainly
meeting?
outline and give you the reports in reference to what the FMRs are, what we pay, so that there is a good understanding of where we actually stand on that issue. And if I may, I wanted to expand on one point in reference to the investigators, because in addition to the 3 countywide investigators, there are also 2 investigative analysts, one of which works full-time up here in the Antelope Valley, and there are also 2 supervisors in the program compliance unit, in addition to the investigators as well.
But who's out there on the streets doing the investigations?
The investigators are actually the field representatives, but the investigative analysts do a lot of the administrative stuff that also is program compliance, because not everything that is complaint-driven requires a field visit. There are things that are done administratively to ensure program compliance.
Can you give us an example of that?
An example of that would be unreported income through our EIV system, where we would check a national database that tells us what people report as income to the IRS. And if there is a discrepancy between that and what is being reported on our system, then certainly we can follow up on that administratively.
Let me just ask one other question to be perfectly clear. As of the action that was taken at the Board of Supervisors just recently, there are no further compliance checks or investigations being done in the Antelope Valley at all, right?
Enhanced compliance checks. So to try to relate to how you view that, there will not be, for the next 90-day, field visits or compliance checks by fraud investigators. Now, with that being said, if through policing matters there are arrests or other crimes reported that are then related to a Section 8 unit, based on that data, if then verified and based on the crime, then that person or that head of household would then be subject to termination.
Mr. Mayor, I just have another question for staff also. And Mr. Vazigian, I don't know who could answer this, but if you could give me a feel for our complaint system of what we've done by funding one investigator, what are the numbers of complaints that we've had that we've actually gone out there and they've investigated, and then what's the results? I mean, how many have been turned over? I mean, vouchers have been taken, but in other words, I want to see how much fraud have we found?
I can, in general terms, tell you, I think we fund 2 investigators, sharing with the supervisor's office. The supervisor's office funds the other half of those. The number that sticks in my head is about 50 cases, and I think the vast majority of them, except maybe 2, were upheld. But we could get the exact numbers. I just don't have them with me.
That's good. Thank you.
I can provide you some data. I know that was directed to Mr. Bazogian, but I can, if you'd like, I have that data here, if you'd like to hear those numbers.
Go ahead.
And the numbers that I have here are specific to the Antelope Valley. They're not, are general to the Antelope Valley, not specific to the city of Lancaster, but we can certainly obtain that. In calendar year to date, there have been 26 terminations year to date in the Antelope Valley. Last year, there were 86. And previous to that, 137, and the high was in 2008. It was 231.
231. How many of those were overturned, and somebody, a hearing board decided they weren't fraud?
By overturned, of the 146 hearings that were held in 2008, for example, 15 were overturned. In 2009, of the 92 hearings, 19 were overturned. Last year, of the 44 cases, 3 were overturned. Year to date, of the 26 cases, 3 have been overturned.
Okay. And it's my understanding that if somebody's defrauding the housing authority, that is a crime, correct?
It depends on the nature of the fraud.
I mean, if they're falsifying
falsifying
documents and
information,
saying
certainly.
they're not working or other compliances like that where they're
If they
falsifying.
certify under penalty of perjury that certain information is true and correct and it turns out not to be, then that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
How many were actually prosecuted for perjury?
I don't have that data.
The number's 0, isn't it?
Again, I don't have that data. I don't know.
The point is that there's a lot of things that could have been done to these people that were not. It's not like they're targeted for some abusive treatment. Isn't that true? I mean, if they wanted to target these people and do bad things to them, every one of them could have been prosecuted for perjury. None of that was ever done. Isn't that true?
Again, I don't know, but that would be up to the DA.
Do you turn these over to the DA?
Yes, in some instances, we absolutely do.
How many do you turn over to the DA?
I don't have that number. I don't know, but I know that in cases when the fraud is significant and it may be multi-agency, may include the Section 8 program or welfare or some other program, those do in fact get referred to the DA.
Okay. Now that you've kind of told everybody that if you want to commit Section 8 fraud, come to the Antelope Valley because nobody's enforcing it. I mean, that's pretty much what's happened. Isn't that true?
No, I disagree.
Well, is somebody enforcing the fraud aspect of this? Is somebody doing a compliance check that I'm not aware of?
Let's try to distinguish the difference between fraud and compliance as it relates to certain levels of fraud.
I'd like you to answer my question. Is anybody doing fraud checks or compliance checks?
They're not doing field checks.
That means nobody's knocking on the door and verifying whether or not, there's 10 felons living in there in a group home basis, right? Nobody does that now. You could turn every one of these houses into a group home, couldn't you?
I'm not going to answer that question, Mayor.
Why not? Is it uncomfortable?
It raises assumptions.
Well, haven't you seen in the last 4 years that because people are being held accountable, that the amount of fraud in the system in the Antelope Valley has dropped like a stone? And in fact, the system is working incredibly well in the city of Lancaster right now. Isn't that true?
That is absolutely true.
So what's wrong with my question? When people are not held accountable, isn't the reverse also true? That you have hundreds and hundreds of instances of fraudulent activity going on, and as soon as they are held accountable, then people behave. I mean, that's how it is in my house. When my kids aren't held accountable, they turn into monsters. My wife says that happens to me. That's probably true.
If you're asking me, do I believe that for program integrity you need to investigate fraud and hold people accountable, I absolutely agree with you. As it relates to the 90-day moratorium based on county council advice to the board and the action taken, there will certainly be curtailments. It is my hope that once the data gathering is completed and the conversations that need to take place, that there will be once again some type of fraud and compliance investigation, because I am absolutely a proponent for program integrity.
One of the people laid off is responsible for 50% of the prosecutions, or whatever you term them, the terminations, last year. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Yes, I'm being told yes.
Wouldn't you say by any standard that person is an exceptional, a phenomenally exceptional employee? Wouldn't you have to agree with that? He did half the work of what, 8 people, right?
I believe your question was it was 50% of the cases that were here in the Antelope Valley, but not of the entire LA County. of which we have 3.
But he certainly had the record, didn't he,
There were a
countywide?
large number attributed to this individual, yes.
Wouldn't you say that's an exceptional employee?
I would say that he processed more cases than the other employees did.
How do you define an exceptional employee in the fields of law enforcement and investigations? How do you define it?
That the person does exceptional work in all aspects of his duties.
Any reason to believe that he wasn't an exceptional employee?
These are one of the things that are under review, so it's not anything that I'm actually open to comment on.
As county counsel here, I got some questions for him, too. Yeah, let's get him up here.
Good morning, Mayor Paris, Mayor Antonovich, members of the City Council. Manuel Valenzuela, I'm with the Office of the County Council.
Counsel, are you the one who was responsible for making the recommendation to make this an enforcement-free zone for the next 90 days?
The advice to the Board of Commissioners came from the County Council.
Okay, well, there's hundreds of county council. Is anybody going to stand up and be accountable that it was my idea? Whose idea was it?
The only thing I can speak to is that the County Council advised the Board and the Board took action. And that's all I'm here to...
You mean
really,
the county council, the head guy, the top dog, right?
The County Council, yes.
Andre who?
Ms. Orden.
So it was his idea? Her? It was her idea? Is that right?
She's the one who advised the Board, and the Board took the action it took.
Okay. I'd like to know, was county council aware that the County of Los Angeles gives to that particular law firm who is suing the county and suing Lancaster and suing Palmdale? Have they named me yet, personally?
I'm sorry?
Have they named me personally in the lawsuit yet? They sure said a lot of bad things about me. I'm wondering if they had the courage to actually put me in the lawsuit. Did they do that?
Well, I'd have to defer to your city attorney to advise you with respect to that litigation. We've advised the Board of Commissioners and the Housing Authority with respect to this matter.
Well, then let me get to my question then. My question is were you aware that the county gives to this particular law firm over $2 million a year? Were you aware of that?
Well, Mayor Paris, I'm really not here to give you information with respect to information the County Council has in terms of advising.
We are a city in this county, and I'm the mayor of one of those cities, and you don't want to give me any information? How does that make...
No, I'm simply saying that we give advice to our clients based on information we receive. If you wish to give us information, I will definitely take it back.
Well, I got this from the county. Didn't I get this from the county, Norm? I mean, this isn't a secret. It's not a secret. I mean, certainly you had to know it. Well, is there somebody in county council preparing the state bar complaint for the conflict of interest for that law firm? Is anybody doing that?
I'm not aware that we are currently looking into that.
You're not even looking into it.
I'm here today primarily to advise my client with respect to the allegations raised in the current litigation.
Okay, well, let me suggest to you that as one of the cities in the county, that perhaps of those hundreds and hundreds of lawyers you have, that you have one of them look into whether or not it is a violation of our code of ethics to have a financial arrangement with the very people you're suing. Could you do that for us?
I will take that back, Mayor.
And while you're doing it, maybe you might ask them that one of those lawyers might look into the possibility of kicking that law firm off this case in a motion to recuse them. I mean, doesn't it strike you as odd that a firm that gets $2 million from the county turns around and bites the very hand that gave them the $2 million? I mean, this isn't the hand that's feeding them. This is the hand that's getting them fat, isn't it?
Mayor Paris, I would like to first note that neither the county nor the Housing Authority is currently a defendant in the case. Therefore, I think that question may be best referred to your city attorney in light of the fact that the city of Lancaster is a named party.
Oh, so the entity that actually directs the investigators, the entity that actually directs the sheriff's department, the entity that is actually in charge of kicking these people out of their homes doesn't get named in the lawsuit, but it's just a coincidence that they're paying this law firm $2 million a year. I want to know if county council was involved in any discussions where they actually, I don't want to say conspired. What's a word that means you got together, be in a closed door session and what? let's not use conspire, but did county council help prepare this lawsuit against the city of Lancaster?
It did not.
They did not. You're certain of that?
I have no information that we participated in any way in this lawsuit.
Do you have any information as to why you're not a defendant?
I think those are matters that need to be directed to the plaintiffs in the case.
The ones that are getting paid.
The ones that you're paying $2 million a year to. No, it's their law firm you're paying the $2 million a year to. I'm sorry. You can understand why we are a little dismayed by the behavior of the county counsel's office in this case, can't you?
I understand you do have concerns, yes.
Do you think they're legitimate concerns?
I understand you have concerns.
You can say you don't want to answer the question, but you can't lawyer up on me, okay?
Thank you.
Are they legitimate concerns or not, in your opinion?
These are concerns that I am taking back. I will take back the full discussion here today and discuss with my office.
But what you are willing to admit is county council did meet with the plaintiff's law firm and come to some type of agreement that if you did certain things, you wouldn't get named in the lawsuit. Isn't that true?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not here today to discuss any conversations we may have had with our client or with plaintiffs in the case at this stage.
Well, is your client the county? Are your county employees? How does that work? You're all one and the same, aren't you?
We're currently here representing the Housing Authority.
The Housing Authority. The one who was in charge of all of... Did the Housing Authority get named?
Housing Authority is not named.
Can you tell me one thing the city of Lancaster can do in regards to directing the investigations, terminations, or anything else in regards to Section 8 housing?
Mr. Mayor, I believe those questions should be directed to your city attorney who can advise you on...
Well, I'd like to know from the Housing Authority. Is there one thing I'm allowed to do? I can't tell you to go look into that house, can I? It's not a hard question.
Again, depending on whether it's a policing matter, if it's a policing matter, obviously the sheriff can handle that. And then based on the information or evidence or arrest that may then occur from that information certainly can be provided. And then, yes, you can send that to me.
Wait a minute. That was better than the lawyer. Isn't it true that other than having the same power of any other citizen, I can file a complaint if I think there's somebody committing Section 8 fraud? But beyond that, there's not one of us that have any authority to direct you to do anything. Isn't that true?
Mr. Mayor, I think I need to, I've advised my client that because many of these issues are at the heart of the current litigation, we had advised that it may be best to complete our investigation before we continue to answer questions in that regard that go.
But you're not even a party to the litigation. You're not even sued. So somebody comes along and sues the city, and you don't want to answer any questions because of a litigation privilege when you're not even a party to the litigation? Can you understand why I'm concerned about that?
I understand.
Somebody sued the federal government. You're going to take the fifth because somebody in Washington got sued? I mean, that's ludicrous. If you're not a party to the litigation, how can you possibly stand behind the privilege?
What we're doing is we've advised our client that because of the allegations and because of the seriousness of the allegations, an investigation should be completed so that we have all the facts so that we can present. That's the purpose behind the 90-day moratorium, and in light of that, we've directed our client to be cautious of comments made to ensure that we protect our interests.
Has somebody said they're going to sue the Housing Authority or the County of Los Angeles?
Well, there is clearly a threat of litigation. I mean, if you've reviewed the complaint, there are allegations in there that go to and address some of the actions by Housing Authority individuals.
In light of this, directing this to Mr. Adams, is there any way we could avoid suing the County of Los Angeles? I mean, they're the ones that actually do all the dirty work, right? If there's any dirty work being done?
To the extent that the county is taking all of the action that is the subject matter of the complaint, I think that I agree with your suggestion that it would be very difficult to proceed without the county being a party to the litigation in one form or another.
Is there an appearance of an ethical violation that a law firm receives $2 million from somebody now I understand they're just threatening to sue them?
Well, based on the circumstances that you described, and this is just my opinion, in the event that I were advising the county, which I'm certainly not doing, those are circumstances that I believe would warrant at least advice from independent ethics counsel prior to going forward. I think that you've raised some serious ethical concerns, some serious conflict issues, at least potential conflict issues, if not actual conflict issues.
Should the city of Lancaster hire an ethics attorney to look into the filing of complaints regarding this? Is that advisable at this time?
You certainly could do that if you chose to. And if that's an avenue that you wanted to pursue, you certainly could do that.
Well, I'm asking if we should. I mean, is it obvious enough that it's something we should be looking at?
To look at the potential conflict issues involving the county?
Yes.
I don't know that the city would necessarily have to engage independent ethics counsel to do that. I'm not sure that the ethics issues would be that complicated, that specialized ethics counsel would be required. But to the extent that the city would like to rely on an ethics specialist, certainly. Otherwise, the council can direct the city attorney's office to advise it on that issue.
Thank you. Of the self-sufficiency program you have, how many of these 20,000 people in the last 10 years have risen to the level of self-sufficiency?
We don't have actual data, but every year we have quite a few Section 8 participants that choose not to participate in the program because either they're over income or for whatever reason. So the FSS program has only been in existence, I believe it's been maybe 8 or 9 years. And so we have had quite a few graduates from that program that have gone on to self-sufficiency. I don't have the actual stats.
When you say quite a few, what does that mean to you? I mean, that's a pretty broad word. It could mean two, or it could mean 2,000.
You have to understand that these are 5-year goals. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program works on a 5-year time frame to establish goals, education goals, and employment goals. And some of them even involve homeownership goals. So of those individuals that go through the program, we do have quite a few that actually complete it and move on to self-sufficiency. As I said, I didn't bring any stats on the FSS program.
When can you have those for us?
I can certainly provide those.
It just occurs to me that if I was living in a 4-bedroom new home with a swimming pool, I wouldn't be in a hurry to get a job. Isn't that true? I mean, if I got a job, then I'd have to move into an apartment or something, wouldn't I?
From my perspective, I think it is every person's desire to become self-sufficient. That's simply from my perspective, and that's simply an opinion.
Every person. It's your opinion that every person.
I believe every person, if given the opportunity, wants to stand on their own 2 feet. I don't know to what extent people do that. I can't answer to that.
In regards to the people that are causing all this problem, it's less than 2% of the participants in the Section 8 program countywide. Isn't that true?
I'm not sure where that stat's coming from.
Well, if you only had 379 complaints last year, how many of those were found to be true?
I think the 379 were to date this year, and I think, how many did we have last year?
Last year we had 785.
We had 785 complaints last year about Section 8 fraud and compliance.
So that'd be around 4%, right?
4% of the voucher holders.
Yes. Of those complaints, how many were found to be true?
These are the actual terminations, 26 this
No, countywide.
Countywide, 48, this is 166,000.
Based off of last year's number, 166.
So about 1.5%, right?
No, that's correct, in terms of non-compliance, if that's where you're going.
Well, the point should be made, I think, that of the thousands of people up here on Section 8, there's less than 2%. It's about 1.5%, just a tiny fraction of them that are causing any problems at all. Isn't that true?
I would say yes.
And because of that tiny fraction, we have all this mess going on, right?
I'm not sure what you're defining as mess, sir.
Well, I can't help you with that then. By now you should know what the mess is. Okay, of the 379 complaints, how long does it take to get somebody knocking on that door?
That all depends on the nature of the complaint, because not all of the complaints that come in require an actual field visit. Sometimes a complaint could be, and many times the complaint comes in and it turns out not even to be a Section 8 participant.
So you're counting those?
We're talking about complaints, yes, actual calls that come in.
Okay, so I call up and say, Ron Smith, I think he's on Section 8, and, you know, he throws loud parties. You count that as a complaint against somebody on Section 8?
Because we have to research that complaint to find out if there's any veracity and find out if that's even a program participant. Someone has to go in.
Okay, then let us know this. Of the 20,150 voucher holders, that of those people that somebody has filed a complaint against, how many complaints are we talking about?
That data I don't have in front of me in terms of how many were actual Section 8 participants. Because sometimes a complaint could be over a visitor, someone who visits a Section 8 home. There is a link there, but it's not the actual Section 8 participant.
But that's not what we were just talking about. What we were just talking about is you said if somebody calls in and says somebody's on Section 8 and they did something bad, you count that as a complaint whether they're on Section 8 or not.
That was part of our totals that we gave earlier, yes.
Well, isn't that a little misleading?
These are calls that come in on the fraud hotline. We investigate every call that comes in on the fraud hotline. Fraud hotline was established specifically for people to call in the event there's Section 8 fraud. So you need to then differentiate between just like you would on a field visit, just like you would on pulling a credit report, you need to determine what is the validity of that complaint. So when we receive a complaint about an address, first thing we do is we determine is it or is it not a Section 8 client.
But we've got thousands and thousands of law-abiding people who are being painted with a brush. And it is a brush of, you know, because it's in the news all the time. And so there's the availability bias. It's a human heuristic that people follow. And I don't hear anything from the housing authorities saying, wait a minute. We're talking about less than, from what you're telling me now, it could be less than 1% of those people have even been complained against, right? Why aren't you out there beating the drum and telling people what the truth is about this? Because you haven't even told me. You can't even tell me how many of the people actually in the program have complaints filed against them, let alone be guilty.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
If I could? So let me get this straight. Of what you're calling an investigation, you get a phone call, and you're telling me that you can't have a clerk sit down there and in 2 seconds run on the computer whether or not that address is a Section 8 house?
No, we certainly can.
So why are you calling it an investigation and you're adding it into this complaint system from the frauds when it should take about 5 seconds to type in the computer and say, you know what, this isn't a valid complaint, we'll put it in the invalid complaint pile?
We get fraud complaints from a number of sources. It can include the fraud hotline.
That's not what I asked. I asked when the first thing that you have to do is investigate whether or not that is a Section 8 house. I mean, that's something that the city of Lancaster has dealt with before, because we might have loud parties or somebody says this is a Section 8 house. The first thing we do, we find out whether it's a Section 8 house or not. I mean, it takes a few seconds, unless your computer system's really not working that well. I mean, it only takes a few seconds. So how can you add that to the pile of valid complaints when it only takes a few minutes?
I don't understand why there's a differentiation when we have a fraud hotline and it's for Section 8 complaints, and why, whether or not I count that, and I never said it was an investigation. I said it's a fraud complaint and that we investigate fraud complaints. We get fraud complaints from the fraud hotline. It could come from a fraud email. It could come from a sheriff's referral. It could come from an HQS inspector going into a unit and seeing something. It comes from a variety of sources. We investigate all of those fraud calls. So in our numbers, in terms of what we track, is we track the number of fraud, we track a number of cases that may in fact lead to an investigation, and we track ultimately whether or not there is a termination and whether or not those terminations are going to hearing. Not all terminations, for example, go to hearing. So we track a wide variety of data.
Right, and I understand that. But what the mayor is saying is that you have overinflated the reality of the true complaints of Section 8. Is that if you get 1,000 complaints next year and 900 of them is just a neighbor that's calling on another neighbor, you really only have 100 complaints. Not that you've investigated and taken them to the ultimate end of pulling their voucher, but you've actually had 100 Section 8 homes that actually you had to investigate. The other 900, hopefully you weren't investigating them because you took the time to run it on the computer and find out it's not a voucher holder at this house. And that's what the mayor is saying, is that those numbers are overinflated, and then you're actually painting your program with more negativity than it actually has. That's it.
Do you think the city of Lancaster is engaged in some type of racist enforcement of Section 8?
I can't comment on that. That question was raised yesterday, and
No. That question was not raised yesterday. The question yesterday was, is your organization a racist organization or engaged in racist policies? And that's the one you took the fifth on yesterday. Today I'm asking you, do you believe that Lancaster has engaged in any racist policy in regards to Section 8 enforcement? And if you want to take the fifth, but let's call it what it is.
Okay, and again, I'm not going to answer that question. So,
have you seen even a hint of racism in your organization since you've been in charge of it?
you know, we could probably, you can continue the questions, and if you want me to go on the record to say I can't comment on it, I'm happy to do so.
So I would not be happy to do that if I were you. I would be ashamed to do that.
Mayor Paris, I mean, these are, as you know, these are all allegations currently in the
No, they're not.
The city of Lancaster.
Against the city of Lancaster. We didn't have the benefit of meeting with the lawyers from the plaintiffs when they drafted the complaint that the county council had the benefit of doing. And you know darn well that's exactly what happened. And quite frankly, I'm incensed by that you would actually be engaged in fashioning this lawsuit against us. And that's what happened. Isn't that true?
No, actually, I have no information or knowledge that that's what occurred. What we are concerned about is we are taking a look at we are investigating the allegations because it involves a housing authority program. And because of that, we have advised that it would not be advisable to comment on those allegations, even with respect to the city of Lancaster and Palmdale. We want to maintain the integrity of our investigation, taking a look at what occurred, and we will be advising our board at a future time.
So are you ever going to come and tell us whether or not you had those meetings with these lawyers and cut a deal to go after us?
I'm unaware that we've cut any deal to go after anyone, Mr. Mayor.
I still haven't had the answer to my question. Is there one thing that I'm empowered to do, or this council is empowered to do, or the city manager is empowered to do, just one thing that we have the power to do in directing the Housing Authority of Los Angeles in its enforcement policies? Is there anything we have authority in regards to that?
Unfortunately, I can't advise you on your authority, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm asking the director of the program, is there anything I'm allowed to do other than file a complaint like any other citizen?
Once again, those are all questions that give rise to the allegations in the complaint, and we would, at this stage, simply suggest that you turn to your city attorney and seek advice, legal advice.
Well, the answer to that, as we both know, is I'm not, am I? We are not empowered to do anything. All of the investigation is done by the County of Los Angeles employees. And the fact that you're unwilling to say the simple truth of that strikes me as irresponsible and being unwilling to be accountable for your own actions. I have some other questions, but I think I'm done. Okay?
Thank you.
City Manager?
Yeah, that last question has to be answered. You're leaving it out there that people think we have some power we don't. That's a question of process. Our power is to file a complaint with you, like any citizen. When we get complaints on any of the contract services we have, we turn them over to the people we contract with, whether that's sheriff, animal control, adult protective services, housing. That question deserves an answer.
There's no response to that?
You heard the response from council.
Is there anything you are willing to take responsibility for in the administration of the enforcement of this program? Is there one thing you are willing to be responsible for? Could you tell me that?
Mayor Paris, may I jump in here for just a moment?
I want to hear the answer.
We in fact believe that enforcement is necessary, and during this 90-day moratorium, as the information is gathered and that information is then presented to the board, as I said before, it is my sincere hope then that at some point in time in the future, because we do have a need to ensure fraud and compliance, that a program will then be re-implemented.
As you stand there right now, there is not one thing you are willing to take responsibility for. Isn't that true? It's a simple question. It requires a yes or no answer.
You know, I can certainly understand the position of Lancaster, and I've taken complete responsibility for a program and turning around a program from trouble status that had deficiency, that had issues, and have turned it around. And you continue to talk about items within the investigations and within the lawsuit and within the threat of litigation that I'm being advised that I can't speak against. And you can certainly make this a personal attack against me, but as it stands, I'm proud of where the Housing Authority is today from where it was when I got here.
Let me be clear on something. It is not you I want to personally attack. It is the county council I would like to personally attack, because what they've done is deplorable. They have created a curtain that has now hidden from the public an interest of vital concern to a lot of the public. And guys like you and I are now having to take the heat for that, and they're unwilling to even give us their names, for heaven's sakes. There's something wrong with a system like that. And personally, as an attorney, I'm ashamed of them. I'm ashamed of these backroom deals going on like that. It is beyond my comprehension how $2 million can exchange hands and that firm be the one that is cutting the deal with the county. That is deplorable behavior. And the fact that it is not being investigated is a strike against my profession. And so don't assume that anything I'm saying or my tone of voice is directed at you personally. personally. There have been improvements in this program since you came. We see that in the numbers of investigations and terminations. You've actually cleaned up this program. But a bunch of lawyers who are unwilling to stand up and be responsible themselves have created an appearance of something far different. You know, when only 20-some people are being terminated out of 20,000, that is something you should be standing up and singing hallelujah about, and we should be singing your praises. But instead, you're having to stand in front of me and take the fifth. There's something wrong with that. I mean, there's something deplorably wrong with that. This is a good program. It's made to look terrible. And it's made to look terrible by a bunch of lawyers. And on behalf of the legal profession, I am really, really sorry, because this is just wrong. It is just wrong. Thank you. Anybody else?
I have comments, but no more questions for them.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the public.
Thank you.
David Paul.
Supervisor Antonovich, Mr. Mayor, and council members, good morning. I was sitting here and I heard something about things that make sense. One of the people from HUD said, when the fraud is significant, we investigate. I contend that all fraud is significant because it diminishes the public trust in the system. I also heard that Lancaster has 10% of the total county Section 8 vouchers. I just wonder, are we 10% of the county population? Is that fair?
We're 2%. 2%.
I have been interested in this for quite a while. And one of the things that I mentioned previously was, what are the constraints on the city to put in free investigators, people that go through whatever training is required, public citizens that have the ability to do this and do it for free? Why can't we have free citizen investigators? The other thing that I mentioned before was the Cheesecake Brigade. And is there anything that allows the city to greet new Section 8 recipients? You know, we want to create openness. We want to welcome people, and just going in there and telling them that we're on your side, we care about you, welcome to the community, and let's do this all together. That was my idea before, and I don't know if there's anything wrong with doing that, but I would like to see us as a city start to welcome the new Section 8 recipients in that way. And then finally, I have a comment about TCAL and the lawsuit. You know, there is abuse, and we hear things. I've seen things where people that have Section 8 vouchers have brand new Escalades or Lexuses in their driveway, and this just doesn't jive with reality to me. So I would like TCAL to say that these problems are actual problems. It's not all us against them, the city against whoever, because that just doesn't exist. So if they want to take responsibility for helping, don't make it a blanket issue of we're out to get them, admit what needs to be fixed on their end. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see them drop the suit and come into the process to help fix this and unify our city. That would be my suggestion and what I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. David Aber.
Good morning, Council, and Mr. Antonovich, staff, and staff from Los Angeles. Been listening to a lot of things in here today, and it seems to me that I read something in the paper recently where the mayor called the Board of Supervisors coward, coward, coward. It seems to me if you...
Just 3 of them.
Yeah. Did I get all 3?
I think you did, yeah.
And it seems to me if you wanted to get a solution to the problem that's before our community, that we would try to work with the Board of Supervisors. instead of insulting them and badgering their representatives in here today, making statements like, I want to attack the county council. Would that be physically similar to the attack on me in the 24-hour fitness gym, or did you just mean it figuratively?
Mr. Ebert, please stay on the subject.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
on the subject.
I know you want to bring
You
this up
made the
at every
statement that
opportunity.
you wanted to
Please
attack
stay
the
on
county
the subject.
council. I want my time back if you're going to interrupt me.
Good luck.
You know, when you said you wanted to
Start
attack
his clock
county
again,
council,
let
you
him
should
have his 3
specify
minutes.
that. There's only a moratorium on here. Instead of putting your money out for bird sounds and threatening ethics lawsuits, so forth and so on, why don't you take the money out of your pocket and get 10 more investigators at about $80,000 a head and a couple $100,000 for expenses. You can have a one and done or a zero tolerance, and you can get to the bottom of the problem, and you won't have to hear how you discriminate against people out here, because I'm sure that's what's going on, because I can see the behavior that goes on in here. These gentlemen came here today to try to explain to this community what's happening, and all you did was insult them and badger them. I don't think that's a way to get to the bottom of the problems we have before us. So maybe you can work with them instead of playing your lawyer games with them and double talking them and try to back them into corners. I'm incensed and appalled by your behavior and your disrespect towards these gentlemen who are trying to do their job, who have made an improvement in the very Section 8 program that you want to criticize. And, you know, maybe if you would just get a little compassion towards some of the other leaders in Los Angeles and the community and work towards solving the problems instead of creating a bigger problem, then maybe this city will start to heal from, you know, all the discriminatory practices that appear to be going on. Everybody can't be wrong, you know, and when you say, you know, county council's got a problem, well, maybe, you know, I got a little problem with the district attorney. Maybe we can get a case filed for an attack that took place. Thank you very much.
As always, I look forward to your comments, Mr. Efford. David Grajeda? Okay. That's a B?
No, I just put it that way. That's how everybody knows me.
Thank you.
Entitlement programs. That was intense. Turned out to be a big headache. They allow everybody to come in, you know, and have a big hole for the system to be abused. I mean, those were some good questions you asked. You did raise some good points. I personally don't believe in Section 8, but I don't think it's constitutional. Neither is discrimination. So I just want to address, you know, the city is tough on crime. They are tough on a lot of individual citizens that are going about their daily lives, you know, and I can see how an overreactive department can go on these compliance checks and maybe blow some situations out of proportion, and people can feel discriminated. Whether or not it's racial, you know, that's up to the people that are filing the lawsuit. But it's, I could see how it could be discriminatory. I could see that, and I can, you know, oh man, it's just sad. Today's, I stayed up all night because I knew today was going to be a great day in City Hall, and I wish a lot more people would come here. But, you know, it's 8 in the morning, and I'm glad I have 3 minutes just to even talk about this. You said something about it leads them, they could be defined as group homes, correct? The Section 8 people, right?
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically? Well, I would think, like, wouldn't foster kids that are in foster care, wouldn't those be unlicensed group homes as well, because they are receiving benefits from the state? You know, I just wanted to bring up that issue on the last NV1, but, you know, you brought it up, so I feel like I can just bring it in right now. Section 8. I don't know. I don't even want to touch that, man. That's you. Wow. I like it. But I just don't. I feel like people don't need to be discriminated against. You know, I mean, pick your battles. You know, the sheriffs need to be respectful. You know, I understand there's a lot of criminals out there too, and people apply for Section 8 because they want They want to, you know, have a place to live. You know, I feel like Section 8 is just a big disguise and hiding the depression that's really going on in the country, as well as welfare. And 127,000 people on the waiting list for Section 8 is outrageous. And, you know, I just don't like it. I just don't like discrimination. I'd rather just people, you know, be respectful with other people's space and privacy, and you can go about it in a different way maybe, and, you know, don't have to pound on somebody's door, or maybe give them a call first, or...
Thank you. Thank you. You know, he brought up an interesting point. Is there any indication that the city ever knew what the racial makeup was of the people on Section 8? I mean, that's not information you ever provided us, is it?
I'm sorry. Again, Sean Rogan. The answer to your question is no, we don't provide racial makeup, and the stats that we provided at the request of the city have actually been in regards to Section 8 composition, families, elderly, seniors, things of that nature.
I mean, up until recently, there was no way for us to even know what the racial makeup of Section 8 recipients were. Isn't that true?
It certainly wasn't information that we provided you at any kind of request.
Are you aware of any documents out there kept by the Sheriff's Department, kept by anybody that tracks that?
Yeah, again, I'm not aware of any documents, but again, during this moratorium in terms of information requests, you know, there will be quite a bit of information provided on all kinds of demographic and ethnic.
Well, I'm sure there will, yeah. In regards to the terminations or the prosecutions of Section 8 terminations, is there any records kept that you're aware of that we would have had access to that would have advised us of the racial makeup of the people being terminated?
Again, I can only, if you look at the AV monthly report that was provided, I think those answers can be, you know, self-answered. That's the document we provide. I don't have it in front of me, but it lists a whole composition of data requests from the city.
To your knowledge, that information has never been provided to the city, nor have we ever requested it. Isn't that true?
Well, to my knowledge, I know that I have never been requested to provide you any data in that regards.
Now, when people are terminated, is there anybody from the city at those hearings?
No.
And when they move out of the house, is there anybody from the city that's there?
I don't know. I would assume no, but I don't know.
Can you think of any way that the city would have known the racial makeup of people being terminated from Section 8?
I don't know.
Thank you. Barbara Nunn.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, thank you. Just a couple of things, and I want to key, because I'm not an attorney or anything, I want to key on the fact that investigations are not done unless there is a complaint. As a senior, a citizen, care for a 98-year-old mom, I live in a senior apartment that does have Section 8, and I worked in the County of Los Angeles in the welfare system. And as a person who would like to have good morals and honesty, I did find a lot of fraud, and I did complain to those above me, and it didn't go anywhere. But one of the things that I heard from the folks in the 11 years that I lived in this senior complex that has Section 8 is, if you go, because it's a 10-year waiting list, they said, if you go to Los Angeles and apply down there, you can get on Section 8 quicker. I don't know if that's true or it was ever true. But a lot of times as citizens, fear factor has a lot to do with why we don't complain. We kind of let it slide maybe. And if we've ever been intimidated from employers or neighbors because we confronted them, maybe some of us aren't bold enough to take it further, so that may be why there's not as many complaints. And I really believe, Mayor, that as the way this nation was founded on principles of right and wrong, that when we address one another in conversation, we need to get to the point. If you can keep people focused on one thing to stay away from another, say racism, then you'll never get to the point of the problem. So rather than going to the problem, you're looking at all of these other things and confusion comes. I am concerned about Section 8. I do believe people need to be on Section 8. I am working with grandchildren now that believe that they have entitlements. No, you need to get a job. And so that's where I'm coming from. And I appreciate everything that you're all doing here in the city. You make mistakes like I do, so we give each other space and breaks and forgive one another. But we need to pursue what's going to be best for the citizens of this community. Don't know if I helped a lot, but at least I got to talk to you, and thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to talk to you later, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Lyle Talbot. Hey, you got rid of the cane. Congratulations.
Bionic Lyle. I'd like to compliment the law enforcement and the civilian enforcement on this project. I looked at this map, yesterday's paper, and looked like we got a couple problems. Those little dots represent crimes, but I've seen it when it looked like scarlet fever, so I had a little to say today, but it's in the paper. It takes you less than 30 seconds probably to read it, and it's a solution where we might redistribute the people on this program to a more population fashion. But to all you seniors out there, take a look at my dog tags in case I get knocked over the head and left out in the parking lot someplace. My wallet gone, they still know who I am, who to notify. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Val Holt.
Good morning. Supervisor Antonovich, Mayor, Council, City staff. I'm a 30-year resident, City of Lancaster. I live in a neighborhood, an older neighborhood adjacent to the downtown area. In 2005, my life turned to hell, and so did my neighborhood. There are 4 Section 8 homes and a housing tract of over 65 homes. The reason that we knew there were 6 Section 8 homes is because the residents made us aware of it. They told us that they were on Section 8. That was important to us because of the activity that was taking place in these homes and how it began to impact our quiet, older neighborhood. Most of the residents at that time either had been there when I came or members of their family were currently living in those homes. Our neighborhood turned into an HBO crime drama. They used pit bulls. They would let them loose at night to intimidate us, to keep us in our homes so they could do their drug dealing. They connected, there were 2 streets that these homes were on, and they connected their business together. They orchestrated it. Many of my neighbors were very intimidated. I was angry, very angry, because I'm an asthmatic. And part of what they were doing was manufacturing drugs. And there was a horrible chemical smell in the air that was impacting my breathing and causing me to have frequent asthma episodes. I got legal advice from a friend. I got my neighbors together And I said, look, we can't stand back and be intimidated by these people. We've got to do something. Because at that time, the sheriff's department wasn't up to speed. The valley wasn't up to speed. We hadn't seen anything like this. I would call the sheriff's department. I'd call the city. Mr. Bazigian, I know you got sick of me. And I would describe things that didn't sound believable. So based on the what attorneys told us to do, we started documenting and putting forth all of that information on paper. We started calling the sheriff's department. And we didn't say they were Section 8 homes because we wanted to be sure that we weren't, we wanted to have our facts straight. We just said, this is what's taking place at these residences. These are the license plate numbers. This is the time, et cetera, et cetera. I'm here today because I was the last person, I think, in a group that has worked with the city on some projects to accept the fact that crime has decreased in the city. I got a phone call from Councilman Marcus about a year and a half ago, maybe 2, about another matter. And at that time I said to her, they say crime is down? Oh, no, it's not. And the reason I said that was because, yes, you didn't see that element on the street anymore. There was not the same kind of activity going on in certain houses in the neighborhoods anymore. But I still smell that smell all over the city.
I got to cut you off because
Okay,
we're out
I'm
of
going
time.
to end right now by saying,
Do you still smell it?
that's what my point. It's been 1 year, and I want to say thank you to the city, thank you to law enforcement. I can breathe again. I love my city again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the speaker cards. Supervisor, I know you this has gone way over what we scheduled. Do you have any?
Let me just say that the actions were very. We hope that the investigation will be expedient and all the facts will come out so that we can move forward to institute the MOU once again with the 2 cities in Antelope Valley and the 2 cities for Bellflower and Maywood, I believe is the other one. Paramount and Bellflower. And that will be before the Board of Supervisors in 95 days, now 94 days.
Thank you. Mr. Bozigian, I would like on the next council agenda whether or not we should hire an ethics counsel. I also want on the agenda whether or not we should seek private counsel on a contingency basis to file any appropriate actions that might arise from that. Okay? Thank you. Should we, any comments?
Yes, if I could, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Let's always be clear on who's paying for the Section 8 program. It's a federal program, but it's truly grandma down the street who's paying for it. It's the hardworking families. It's every one of us taxpayers that are paying for it. And I talked to Councilman Steve Hoffbauer from the city of Palmdale just recently on this same issue. And when he was back in Washington, D.C., he talked to one of the HUD officials back there and told how the city of Palmdale, Mike Antonovich with the County of Los Angeles, and the city of Lancaster pays for its own investigators for fraud and criminal activity. And he was a little shocked. He said they should be paying that. Now we find out that there's now 3 investigators in the budget, and they've taken off some other ones. We decided years ago to chip in to make sure that that criminal activity and that fraud is not done in our community, even though it's not our program. But we get the criminals coming up here that are defrauding. Now, Mr. Rogan said there were 170,000 people waiting to get Section 8. Needy people in our communities needing Section 8. The waiting list could be 10 years. Now, I've personally talked to African American women that are single moms, seniors, people with mental disabilities and physical disabilities that have been waiting on the list 5, 6, 7 years. Now, when I say the county, I'm not saying Mike Antonovich, because Mike has understood our problems and he's been a champion here. But for the other Board of Supervisors to take away our investigators, What they are saying is they are not supporting those 170,000 citizens that need this program. They are supporting the dope dealers, the gangbangers, and the people that are defrauding the system and taking our money. And that's unconscionable. And I'd like to thank Mike again for just the strong support that he's done for this community, and I know he's worked hard. Thank you.
Yeah, if we didn't have Mike Antonovich, our lives would be miserable. I mean, they really would. Why don't we take a break? And again, I want to thank the supervisor for making this meeting available and making the staff available, and we will continue when we come back. Okay? Oh, where is Sherry? Is Ms. Marcus coming back? What? Mark, is Sherry coming back? Okay. Okay. Let's move on to new business item number 3. Lancaster Sheriff Station.
Good morning, Mayor Paris.
Good morning.
Mr. Hickling and members of the council. On behalf of the Sheriff's Department, I'd just like to let the community know that we're going to always enforce any complaint and look into any allegation of criminal misconduct. And we've been doing an excellent job of that for the last several years without question. To address the one community member's concern, she brought up the state of the city in 2004. And I will say, or 2005, we've come a long way, because back in 2005, the crime rate for the city of Lancaster was 440 crimes per 10,000, and we ended last year at under 300 crimes, actually 298 per 10,000, and we're well on our way to reaching the mayor's goal of within a year or two of under 200 crimes per 10,000. So we're definitely going in the right direction. In fact, the station, Lancaster Sheriff Station right now, is experiencing a lot of reduction in crime all the way across the board in Part 1 crimes. Every Part 1 crime in the city of Lancaster is down year to date, and we're also down on 5 of the 8 in the unincorporated areas. We have an overall reduction of 14% year to date. 12% of that is in the unincorporated area, and the remaining is also in 14% in the city. So we're looking very good across the board in every category. We have, about 6 months in, we have yet to had a gun-related homicide, which I take tremendous pride in, because that is a collaborative effort between the city, the county, and the community at large, is saying no to crime, and especially violent crime. The 2 homicides we have had in the unincorporated areas, one was a neglect of a 4-month-old child, and the other was a domestic. So we've yet to have a gang-related crime in either the city or the unincorporated area so far this year, and we'll continue to knock on wood. But again, that goes to the community saying enough's enough and helping us in every aspect. One of the things I want to introduce here today, which I think Lancaster is very unique in, is that we've entered in, from an intervention standpoint, entered into an agreement that no other station can say they have, and that's with the University of Antelope Valley has committed and secured grants and scholarships to partner with our VITA program, our intervention, 16-week intervention program. So we'll be making a public announcement, if this isn't it, in the very near future, and that'll start at the next class. And what that gives the individuals an opportunity is that they fulfill their obligations, graduate from the VITA program, and then continue through high school, maintain a certain GPA, and stay out of trouble, that the University of Antelope Valley is going to have an education waiting for them. So that is a great partnership that we have entered and secured. Very proud of that. Another area that we're going to be doing a press release in the very near future is the community. When I first arrived, one of the most common comments was information. How can we become involved? How can you share information? Well, we worked with our Sheriff's Headquarters Bureau, and we're coming out with a new website for the Sheriff's Department that community members can get to directly by just typing in lancaster.lasd.org. It'll be an individual website for us, for the station of Lancaster, and we're also going to be connecting that in the near future with unincorporated areas, so members of Quartz Hill or Lake Los Angeles, for example, can type in the same thing, their area, lakelosangeles.lasd.org, and it'll connect them directly through into the website rather than having to go through the main portal down at Sheriff's Headquarters Bureau. When that is up and running completely, it is already up and running and accessible, but it is really going to help us connect with the community. It's going to give them different avenues to contact us, participate with us as far as crime fighting efforts go. One of the things that I'm very excited about is a section that we're going to tag called Tag the Tagger. And what that'll do is give community members the ability to look at tagging in their community and say, you know what, I know who's doing that, and can provide direct information to us so we can hopefully reduce that from occurring throughout the different areas of our community. So again, we came out with the city came out with crimemapping.com a few weeks ago, and we've been able to work with them and connect that directly again to having the ability for the community to access it, see where the crime's occurring, and provide us valuable tips that we follow up and come directly to us at the Sheriff's Department, and we can follow up and again investigate. So overall, crime is going in the right direction. I'm here to answer any questions about specifics if you have them. That's it.
I do. Has the Los Angeles County Sheriff Department ever been sued for discrimination?
Well, to answer that question, I would have to say probably.
Did county council tell you to stop enforcing laws?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Back to my opening comment, is the Sheriff's Department will continue and always will investigate criminal allegations, no matter who the person involved is or who they're cited with.
Anyone else?
Great job.
I'm dumbfounded. I mean, the crime stats right now, if they continue, are just nobody in the world has accomplished that. That's incredible. I'm speechless. Thank you. Okay, new business 4, report on Fire Service Day. Los Angeles County Assistant Fire Chief Jim Cross.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Council members. Thanks to Bob, too. I live in the city, and I've seen a tremendous improvement over the course of the last few years, and I've got grandchildren now that are being raised out here, and I'm thankful for the work they do as well. Just wanted to share with you this morning a little bit of the state of the Fire Service Day that was held in May, on May 14th in Lancaster Station, Fire Station 129 on Avenue M. I know we had representatives from the board and from city staff. We appreciate that. Norm, I know you were there. I appreciate that, having the city as well as the county to support that effort. Something that maybe you haven't heard in the past is how Fire Service Day out here started and how it got as big as it is today. As you know, across the county in May, Fire Service Day is held at each one of the fire stations. They'll put up banners out on a Saturday and invite the public in to actually see how the firefighters live, ask questions, see the equipment that they use, and have more of a personal contact. But what we found is a number of the firefighters out here felt that like it wasn't enough. And so this really began to be a grassroots effort 14 years ago. There were some firefighters at Fire Station 33 at that time, we were over on Cedar, that said, we need to do more. And they had some things in mind. Number one, they wanted to connect with the community more. And they also wanted to be able to showcase the fire apparatus and the equipment that we have, as well as the services that we provide. And then finally, they said, we aren't partnering very well with our cooperating agencies and maybe some of the support organizations in the valley. And so it really started from the firefighter ranks. In that first year, I think they had 1,500, maybe 2,000 folks show up. and it was again held at 129s. And it was all started by, again, firefighters, their funds, and their volunteer work. There was nobody on duty doing it that day. They did have equipment that was on duty, obviously come, but those that were organizing the event and actually producing the things that were given out that day, it was all supported by firefighters in the station. So again, what was accomplished this year is we had a tremendous amount of shows that was going on there. We had puppet shows for the kids, Pluggy, if you've ever seen the little mechanical fire hydrant that gives safety tips to the kids. A lot of brochures and safety information was handed out that day personally by the firefighters, again, to connect with the community. The apparatus that was there that day to showcase what you have available here in Lancaster as well as in the county was the full spectrum. I think the only folks that weren't here were the lifeguards that are part of the department that work the beaches. But we had our Air Ops, which again is stationed up here out of 129s. We have our USAR, which is stationed on the west side of Lancaster, was there showcasing their equipment, and as well as providing demonstrations. We also had the hazmat team out there, which is actually housed at 129s. And it was just a great day for showcasing, again, the products that we have as well as the services that we provide. And the last thing that they were trying to accomplish when this was started, I believe, was also accomplished, and that is partnering with those agencies that we work with on a daily basis. And the Forest Service was there supporting it, as well as Air Force Plant 42. The sheriffs had a contingency there as well. And it really helps build the relationships. I think you know that as a council or as a city staff. When you have a name to put to a face when a crisis strikes, the incident typically goes a lot better because there's a face to put to a name, and you've met before and you've done things together before there's an emergency to handle. So we believe that happened as well that day. So certainly the emergency organizations were there. Red Cross was there helping support as well, who we obviously engage in different activities with. And so we just thought it was, again, a tremendous day. Over 12,000 people showed up, and if you remember May 14th, it was windy and cold. Last few years, it was actually a nice day. Today was kind of or this year was kind of a miserable day, but we still had over 12,000 folks show up. And again, the biggest event. Every year it seems to grow by about 1,000. So it was the largest contingency. And again, maybe just leave you with the fact that, again, this is really firefighter-driven from the rank and file. It's not the managers that pull this together. We certainly support them, but it's the firefighters that come together on their days off to help support this, and they even provide their own funds to run many of the entities that take place in that day. So it's a great day. And if you didn't make it this year, hopefully you can make it next year. And again, thank you for your support. You have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. New business item number 5, report on Lancaster Developer Incentive Program.
Robert Neal's going to report on this one as he's coming up. I'd just like to say it's a pleasure working with a lot of creative people. Bob Johnson just gave you. When Robert and his staff first came up with the program of discounting developer fees, it took a lot for the council to say, yeah, you know, the fees are down, so let's discount it more. And he's here to tell you not only about the success, but another proposal that staff has to partner with the county and other taxing entities. Robert?
Good morning, Mr. Hickling, Mayor and City Council. I believe we had a very successful program with reducing our fees to incentivize development. It helped neighborhoods, and it helped our local economy, and it brought revenue into the city. In 2009, before we started the program, we had only issued 192 houses that year, and we thought 2010 was going to be even a worse year. When we came out with that incentive program, we actually saw an increase in construction activity by 34%, while our surrounding community saw decreases about 20 to 30%. So we actually collected more infrastructure revenue in 2010 than we did in 2009. Personally, I've been into some of the neighborhoods, and one that I'm very proud of is that we walked into a house, cabinets had been stolen, fixtures had been stolen. The neighborhood was really upset about what was happening, and because of our incentive program, KB Home, and Tom DePrima is here, was able to acquire it, and clean it up and fix it up, and the people who live there, I think, are just really appreciative. I'm really here to say that I'd like to continue with an incentive, a building incentive program, a little more structured or a little more targeted, and with an increased incentive. And in fact, I'm going to suggest that the county partner with us, and maybe even the school district, so that we all kind of benefit by such programs. By that, what I mean is that it helps complete neighborhoods, which puts families into neighbors, and will increase school district attendance. When we have those areas of public nuisance that these tend to clean up, it draws a lot of resources from our own code enforcement, from sheriffs, from police. I could tell you that when we had the old Sears vacant building, talking to fire people, they would tell me they would respond 4 or 5 times a week to fire alarm issues because people were breaking into the building, setting fires, those kinds of things. So I really believe this kind of program helps our community. And if, with your permission, I would like to see if we can't partner together, focus on these partially built communities, help them complete their neighborhoods, address partially built structures that are public nuisances, and continue to help our local economy by putting people to work. 2010, I would estimate that we did between $80 and $90 million worth of work in our community, and so it was, in my opinion, a big help. With that, I think that lays groundwork for a program that I hope to bring before the City Council, and hopefully to have further discussions with the county on. With that, that concludes my remarks, and be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Mayor.
Robert, on behalf of the county and the supervisor, has the county agencies that you've spoken with and coordinated with, have they been cooperative? Have they been positive towards looking at this project? They may not have made it a commitment just yet, but are they open to the idea?
In fact, I was talking with David Pilker this morning, and yeah, there's an openness to see what we're doing and maybe working with us. Thank you.
Mayor Paris, we also have Tom DePrima here. You might want to say a word.
Tom, come on down. This is the guy who was responsible for creating, inventing, developing the only house in the world that produces more electricity than it consumes. That was a remarkable accomplishment.
Well, it's not the only one, but it was a great project. It really goes to...
That's right. It's not the only one, but it's the only one people can afford. Right.
Well, first I want to thank the Mayor, Supervisor's Office, council members, and staff. I have to tell you that as Executive Vice President for a large company that my responsibility goes from San Diego to Bakersfield, I work with a lot of agencies, I work with a lot of cities, I work with a lot of government officials, and it's very easy to see how the city of Lancaster was voted one of the most friendly communities and businesses and agencies to work with. You're readily available. I can get meetings with decision makers. We can get down to details, and we can make great things happen. I encourage you to continue this program. Supervisor's Office, I would encourage LA and even the school district to get involved. To briefly share with you, essentially on these abandoned communities, generally most of the fees have been paid. So you're looking at about a fee left of around $10,000, or 25% incentive, it's $2,500. If you take the current cost of construction and the current cost of where we can sell a home today, they're a negative residual to someone that owns the land. So if you're going to a bank that has taken these communities back in abandonment, they're not interested in doing anything with you when they have to write a check for you to take their land. The incentive program has made some of these projects to where we've created a residual value to the bank where they've been enticed to work with us. One particular community that I'd love for you to come see, it's a project over on the east side that we just opened called the Royal. There were 18 abandoned homes in the community. On the day I met with police services from the community service officer from the sheriff department and told them that we were very close to doing a deal on the project, which was immediately following a meeting with your staff, that we created this incentive program that made it possible to make this project happen. I thought the community service officer was going to tackle me and thank me, because not only did I mention where I was and wanted them to meet me out there, because we had had a rave party the night before in one of the units, they knew the house to go to, the location, directions, and even asked me for an address, which is not great. They're spending too much time there and not doing the things they need to do. There were fires in the units. The neighbors have been overwhelmingly supportive. We have many, many neighbors who have come and thanked us for the way the community looks today. We've gone and immediately cleaned it up. And we just need to do more, because we're getting to a point now, we're getting into some of the tougher communities. You know, generally a lot of these communities were started by other developers. They took the prime location from model locations and things, so now it's tough to direct. So we're working with staff on how do we create signage ability to be able to get customers to these locations and do it tastefully and tactfully and done, and staff's been phenomenal to work with. I have pitched this to many, many cities, and many, many cities have said, no, we're not going to cut fees, and in fact, we're going to raise fees. And I always try to explain to them 100% increase of nothing is still nothing. A 20% decrease, but an increase. My business in the city of Lancaster is up 400% because of this program. It is down in every other community I build in, except for a couple other communities where, throughout Southern California, where they've adopted this program and made it feasible. So I encourage you to come out, see these projects, see what we're doing, see the response from the neighbors. You know, if you think about it, a few $1,000s of credit to make a deal pencil works phenomenal in reverse of what sheriff department burden is going out to those communities on nightly calls, fire department responding on nightly calls, not knowing whether someone's in the structure. It's very, very, very vital cause for us. And I just thank you for the openness, the support, the fact that I can get meetings with decision makers, and I commend the city on the leadership here, because I believe that staff and attitude mirrors leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. New business item 6, the status on the high-speed rail, Metrolink, and other transportation issues. Did this just get handed off to you?
It did. I hope you take it easy
No,
on
he
me.
wanted it.
Good morning, Mayor Paris, honorable council members, and Norm. My name is Ali Naveed, and I'm a deputy to Los Angeles County Mayor Michael D'Antonovich. I'd like to talk to you this morning about the Metrolink, more specifically the AV line and the improvement plan the supervisor introduced to the MTA in April. Right now, the AV line is the most dangerous line in all of Metrolink's lines. And this plan is set to improve the 76-mile corridor from Union Station to Palmdale, to improve speeds and safety by straightening out the lines, and hopefully bring up speeds to about 110 miles an hour, which would make a trip from the Antelope Valley to LA in about 1 hour versus 88 minutes, which it is now. And this,
the trains we have now can go that fast?
The express train, yes, sir.
110 miles an hour?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That capability, but the track doesn't allow them to use that capability.
Right now on the AV line.
It'd be a great ride, wouldn't it?
Right now, the AV line has a lot of curves, and the average speed is actually 34 miles an hour, and the train is capable of going 110, so we have a lot of room for improvement. And
so we're going to be able to do this once they get it fixed?
Yes, sir.
When are they going to get fixed?
We're looking at that now. They should be providing a report back to the MTA actually tomorrow on the status of this report. And I will, once I get that information, I'll share with Mr. Bazigian and with the council.
That would be incredible.
Absolutely. And this plan is actually so well received that the supervisor introduced it at SCAG, the Southern California Council of Governments, to use this as a template for other lines throughout Southern California. And there's a plan right now to go from the Antelope Valley through to San Diego using Metrolink in 2.5 hours. The cost would be between 1.5 to 2 billion, and this would be a lot more realistic than the pipe dream that is high-speed rail. We don't feel that high-speed rail is going to happen. We believe that their executive director, Roloff, is a purist. He wants the train to go over 240 miles an hour, and that's not going to happen. In fact, in most jurisdictions, you can't go over 110 miles an hour anyways. So this is a lot more realistic, and this is something that we want to look at. And last point for Metrolink is regarding the express service is we have revised the times, and the train will now leave at 6:12 a.m. versus, is it 5:30 in the morning? And we hope that this new time will be an incentive for Antelope Valley residents to leave their cars at home and use Metrolink to go to downtown LA and avoid the 14 freeway. And lastly, I'd like to talk about the High Desert Corridor, and this is something that your council is familiar with, and Norm, please chime in.
Before you get there.
Yes, sir.
This has incredible potential. You know, if we could actually cut that time by an hour, we could then solicit companies to come up here.
Absolutely.
Because the employees that have to go to LA can get there in an hour. You know, you can't get anywhere in LA in an hour. I mean, you want to go 14 miles, that takes an hour. This is an incredible opportunity. When are we going to actually get the construction done, do you think?
Again, we'll find that out on the report, and I'll report back to Mr. Bozigian and the council, but we want to do it as soon as possible because this is realistic and it can happen, and we want to make sure that it does.
We should be meeting with the good people in the county, not the bad people, the good people.
we can facilitate a meeting with Metrolink and Metro.
Well, I'm thinking of marketing people. We should have a marketing plan in place so that when it comes online, we already got people building. Let's work on that, okay?
Okay.
This is great stuff.
I'll make
Thanks.
it a priority.
I have a question real quick regarding it. You say it's from Union Station. It's my understanding it stops at Palmdale. Is it the difference that the tracks between Palmdale and Lancaster are okay to go 110 miles an hour, or are they just doing it to Palmdale? You keep saying Antelope Valley, but you mean Palmdale.
No, you're absolutely right. Let me get that clarification. I'll get back to you. I apologize for that.
Oh, you didn't tell us that.
Just to help you, it's, yeah, we went through that already this morning, so we don't, no, it's from Palmdale. Palmdale down to Union Station is what he's referring to. The tracks up here would probably, with grade separations, you would need some work, and hence that's the reason why the supervisor has always made very clear is ask for this feasibility study to see what it's going to take, what the cost would be, what the kind of time frames would be necessary in order to make this all happen. I mean, I already do 110 between Palmdale and Lancaster.
At some point we should be looking at whether or not if it's 110 miles per hour to LA, what is the cost benefit of keeping the Lancaster Metrolink station? You know, I mean, we really should examine it. But just having a Metrolink station because Palmdale has one, I think is childish. But at some point, I would like to see a cost-benefit analysis done. If it means getting to work in an hour, we should look at it.
Okay. And regarding the High Desert Corridor, Norm, again, please chime in since you actually sit on the JPA. The High Desert Corridor JPA is actually looking at a 500-foot right-of-way along the proposed freeway, which goes from the 14 to the 15 freeway and actually up until the I-18. And this would allow for, this 500-foot corridor would allow for Metrolink, high-speed rail, or the Desert Express, and also tied in with green technology, such as solar technology, along that right-of-way to actually power that freeway. And we believe that by tying in high-speed rail and green technology to the High Desert Corridor, it's going to make it a lot more viable to secure federal and state funding. And right now, the project is getting a lot of attention from the private sector, so we believe it'll be complete and on time. I believe we're halfway through our EIR, and we should have that done in the spring of 2013. And one last point regarding what you have heard in the news, Carmageddon, the closure of the 405. The 405 is scheduled to be closed between July 15th through the July 18th, and it's a 10-mile stretch from the 10 to the 101 freeways. It'll be shut down for 53 hours, and As many of you have known, the 405 already is a parking lot. So,
is it going to slow anything down?
So we recommend that if you have any plans at important events that weekend, such as a wedding, you plan to use any other alternate route besides the 405 and avoid that area altogether. And if there are any other questions, I think I'm done.
If I may, if I can just add in a little bit. Both Councilman Smith and myself, as Mr. Cano, also sit on that high desert corridor. As Ollie said, it's about halfway through right now, and they've completed 2 scoping meetings out here in the community, and they've been very well received, as they have been over on the San Bernardino side. So, we've gone from a dotted line on a map for years and years connecting the 14 freeway and the 15 freeway to actually having a real project with a real EIR in the process and people being aware of it. So it's something that Supervisor Antonovich always looks at from a regional transportation standpoint and how all these things tie in. You have the high desert corridor coming in. It could fit in with high-speed rail. Should that get straightened out and that authority and the federal government ever funds that project, we need to keep high-speed rail coming through Palmdale and Lancaster, though. I mean, that is a priority to the supervisor also, because that's part of this whole catalyst of the high desert corridor, the Desert Express, Palmdale Regional Airport, the things that we want to do and visions that we have for Fox Field out here in Lancaster. So all these things tie in together as a regional transportation hub.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're putting us on the map. New business 7, the MAC unit. Who's presenting that?
That will be me, sir.
Good. That's the most important thing.
Well, this is incredible, a success story that's going on, and I, on behalf of the folks in the Department of Health Services and Public Works and Supervisor Antonovich's office and all his staff, it's been a great partnership working with the City of Lancaster in acquiring the land, getting that close to being finalized. In fact, next week at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the final agreement should be before them for the actual land purchase for where the MAC is going to go. This is a 140,000 square foot facility that is going to completely replace the facility that's aged out there on 60th Street West and Avenue I. This is going to be on 3rd Street East and Avenue I by the old fairgrounds, as we all up here know, commonly refer to it as. It's going to be a 2-story facility. You're going to have, it's going to be a world-class healthcare center. It's already, the design itself is and the proposals already starting to win architectural awards. And hopefully, I think, David, by July, we should have the company selected and awarded the contract July of this year for the design build. And I know the supervisor is pushing very hard to do a groundbreaking this year. More likely, it will be after the first year in 2012, but it will be complete in 2014. So it's a $120 million project that's going to, I hopefully, will make this Antelope Valley proud, and in particular, the community and the patients here in the Lancaster area.
Thank you. Okay. Any council comments or the supervisor comments? I think we're all talked out. Let's do the speaker cards. What's her? Oh, Jerry, you want to do your?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the City Council on items that are not on the agenda. You'll find speaker cards at the back of the council chambers. We respectfully request that you fill out the cards completely and print as clearly as possible so that if necessary, the City Council, City Manager, or City staff will be able to contact you. As much as we appreciate your request to make comments before your 3 minutes begin, please understand your time begins when you start to speak. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by council does not extend your time. When you approach the podium, you will see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins. The yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light comes on when your time is up. We ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the meeting. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
David Grajeda. Did I say it right this time?
Yeah. 3 more minutes. Business friendly, Lancaster, California. That's good. I want to know. I want to see more businesses be developed in Lancaster. Hopefully, people from the residents, you know, like local citizens, and not outside sources. You know, I kind of got an idea for a business. It kind of goes with the theme of the town. You know, energy. You know, design a green gym. You know, collecting all the kinetic energy that people waste. You know, when they go exercise and stuff like that, you know, that'd be something neat. I don't always want to come up here and speak negative, especially about law enforcement, you know. And you know, I had, you know, some run-ins with them, and some of them are humbling experiences. Some are just, you know, just me being young and trying to, you know, motivate other people and being involved. And sometimes I can get carried away. But yeah, no, that would be cool, you know, see a green gym, you know. Everything's solar powered, you know, solar powered, and people wasting their energy and gathering it up and maybe turning a profit from that. Section 8 is terrible. I don't really agree with entitlement programs whatsoever, even though I am a part of one myself, because you know, it's hard. You know, and there's nothing out here. We have the highest unemployment rate, and I think in California, you know, so. You know, I'm trying to, you know, it's hard, you know, as you become a productive member, or you try to make, you know, take the steps in becoming a better citizen for the community, and things seem to be, you know, getting more oppressive, especially the, you know, the crackdown with the crime and stuff like that. That's why when I would come up here and I challenge, you know, the authority, is only because I really want them to choose their battles like I need to learn to choose my battles as well. When I engage somebody in a conversation, you know, it's all about learning, you know, and when you have a conversation that's just not like two people fighting over whose opinion is right, and it's actually debating like democracy, you know, a lot more is accomplished. I've talked to a lot of sheriffs, you know, the past couple days, and you know, they make a bunch of great points, and you can really soak in information on what they're trying to accomplish in the city and take that into consideration while you try to apply, you know, protesting or other, you know. But like I said, they are aggressive, and I'm only saying things that I've dealt with personally, and I'm really trying to become something other than what I used to be growing up. So now that I am becoming more active, I hope this council and this, you know, doesn't see me as a nuisance or anything, way, shape, or form of that fashion. Just somebody who's trying to be active and learn as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicole Parsons. David Apper.
Good morning again, council, citizens, and staff. Heard a lot in this room echoing today about accountability. That's something that I've always been in agreement with. And hopefully we can get some accountability. I'm glad that Mr. Hickling's here today from the Supervisor's office. Maybe he can help give me some direction and how I've got a problem, and maybe I need to come in and see you and file it with you, or you can walk me through the procedure. Apparently, it's my understanding that the Sheriff's Department did a very thorough job, thorough enough where they convinced me from high-ranking official that, in fact, incident at the gym that day was investigated, and, in fact, an assault and battery had taken place due to the fact there was a confession made by the person that committed the assault and battery on me. So if what that has done is moved it to a level of the county council / district attorney's office, and maybe I need your assistance on getting to the bottom of why there's a crime committed, back to the accountability point of my conversation, and getting to the bottom of why the district attorney is either negligent or is failing to move forward when in fact there's a crime had been committed, and in fact there was a confession made, and from the high-ranking official in the sheriff's department, an assault and battery had been committed. Without a doubt, the person that had attacked me had confessed that they had, in fact, had put hands on me, which is a crime, and it's unprovoked. And I come to find out now that I was under the understanding that there was reports filed by both parties, but now there's only one report filed, the report that I filed, because actually I was the person attacked, and anybody else filing reports that would be untrue, that would be filing a false police report, and that would be illegal, along with other statements that were made with respect to other crimes that were alleged over a 2.5-year period, which are preposterous and have no basis. But hopefully, I know that you can't take any action on that side, but possibly give me a call. You know, I think you guys have my phone number, and let me know what the procedure is so that I can move forward. And if it's a district attorney situation, and that's who I need to deal with, or the attorney general, whatever. I mean, accountability is what it's about. And nobody, we're all men are created equal, and we're all held to the same standard. Nobody in this room is above anybody else, nor am I or anybody else in this room. So appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Adams, be sure to give him the phone number and the address of the Attorney General's office, would you please?
Certainly.
Thank you. Moving on. That concludes the non-agendized items. Council comments, county comments. Anybody? We do have one announcement, if I can find my notes. Most of us are familiar with the banners on Lancaster Boulevard. This summer, the city will recognize our local military heroes through Summer Banner Program. This program will feature their photographs prominently on the banners along the newly renovated boulevard. The purpose of the program is to show our gratitude to the heroic men and women from Antelope Valley who fight to maintain our freedom. The banner is okay. When are we unveiling it?
As soon as you pull it off.
Oh, we have it up there.
It's a representation.
So how do I pull? Oh, I pull that off. Okay. So do we have a veteran? Any veteran in the audience? Would you like to do the honors? You do it? Not a real person. Over the next couple of weeks, we'd like the community to give us nominations. It's designed for local heroes, is what it is. And I think it's a way to give them a personal recognition that we're community-wide. So I'm actually excited about this program. Staff did a great job. Thank you.
Bob and Rhonda.
I was just saying, when it hits the newspaper, there's going to be hundreds of calls of saying, who's John Smith?
Again, John Smith is not a real person. He is a model. We go online July 6th to accept nominations.
Until July 6th.
Until
Yes,
July
there'll be a
6th, so they
press
should do
release
it right
going-
away. Okay,
There'll be a
great.
press release going out today.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, we are adjourned until Tuesday, June 28th, 2011 at 5 p.m. Thank you for coming.